Welcome to Non-Partisan Hacks, where we talk about good government from the local level on up. I'm Sean Wood, a councillor in the city of Parksville.
And I'm Joel Grenz, also a Parksville City Councillor. We've got a front row seat to how government really works, and sometimes doesn't.
This is a podcast about making things work better, not by pointing fingers, but by asking questions, sharing stories, and talking to the people in the trenches.
All right, I think we've got a great episode ahead because we've got our very first guest interview. And yes, she received a fresh loaf of Sean's legendary bread. Sean, you want to tell us a little bit about what our guest receives? Guests today receive a special loaf of Sean's bread.
Well,
brought to you by Sean.
It's a bit of a special episode here because we do have Michelle Stilwell as our very first guest, and she is going to be a recipient of 2 of my organic salted crust loaves of bread that just came out of the oven this morning with a little bit of salt flakes sprinkled on top just for you, Michelle.
Sounds good.
All right, well, I guess I should introduce Michelle. But first, maybe a little plug for our brand new website at nonpartisanhacks.com or .ca. You'll find past episodes, show notes, and you'll be able to get in touch if you want. And maybe, Sean, do you want to do our disclaimer?
Yeah, what is our disclaimer?
Well, we're both elected officials and we often talk about other folks in public office. Everything here on this podcast is just our own perspective, not the official view of the councils or any governing body.
And for the record, that was not sped up in post. Joel just did that live. So nice work, Joel.
Thank you. So today's guest is Michelle Stilwell, and she's one of Canada's most accomplished Paralympians and a passionate advocate for inclusive communities. She's the only Canadian female Paralympian to win gold medals in 2 different sports. They were, Michelle?
Basketball and athletics.
Very nice. And this was over 4 summer Paralympic games. Brought home a collection of medals, broke world records, and inspired a generation of athletes. After her athletic career, Michelle served, and this is the key thing for us today, is she served as MLA for Parksville-Qualicum from 2012 to 2020. That is the riding that Sean and I live in. During that time, she was Minister of Social Development and Social Innovation. She also held roles as caucus chair, official opposition critic for tourism, and was part of several key legislative committees, including Treasury Board. These days, she continues her leadership on the national stage, serving as vice president of both the Canadian Paralympic Committee and Own the Podium, and a few boards, I think, right?
A few.
Okay. Well, we are very happy to have Michelle on the show today, our very first guest. The enticement of bread worked. And we also have a tie-in from our last episode. Sean, should I give it to you? Why is Michelle? It's not in the script. We saw Michelle on the plane. We were on the same plane.
We were on the way home from Ottawa, so it was really cool. I'm not sure I had met you before. Oh, I had met you before, Michelle, but then we got to spend quite a bit of time on the way home, so that was neat. Yeah,
we flew back from Ottawa. You were there for
board meetings with the Canadian Paralympic Committee.
Okay, very nice. And we were there for Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Check episode 2 if you want to hear about that. All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show. We're very excited to have you as our first guest, and we'd love to talk a little bit about how to be effective in your role as an elected official. So I guess maybe that's sort of just a general topic, but I think we've got we're recording outside on my deck, and Sean is fighting with an insect or something.
Relatively large spider, but we're good. We're good. We can keep going.
You're safe. Okay. Michelle, good government. Any thoughts?
Well, thanks for having me. This is fantastic. I feel so honored to be the first guest here on your podcast. And I think it's a great opportunity for both of you to be sharing what inside government actually looks like, because I don't think the average person knows what happens on a daily basis or understands what happens on a daily basis in the role of city councillor, MLA, cabinet minister. So
yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people see all the kind of bickering in public and campaign ads, and they pick their team and watch their team win and lose and cheer for their team. But when it comes down to it, that's not actually the job. That's just the way to get to the job. And once you're in the job, you have to be governing on behalf of everybody. What have you seen being, I guess maybe start with how you got into it. I'd be interested to hear a bit about that, because you weren't actually part of a party before, I don't think. Like, I don't think you're a member of a party.
I was not.
Yeah. So you got straight, you can get elected and go straight to being in government, right?
Yeah. So for me, I guess it really started prior to that. I was approached before the 2012 Paralympic Games to run federally as an MP. And when I got that phone call from someone I knew in the community who had interviewed me in my sport world many times and suggested it to me, I was floored. I was like, what? No, why would you think I could do that job or would want to do that job? I'm not qualified for that job. And he listed many reasons why I would be and what would make me a great candidate. But of course, that was leading into the 2012 games. And I said I had some other priorities and some unfinished business that I needed to take care of. So I declined.
Got me some medals to win.
Yes. So I declined the offer. And then after 2012, after London, I came back to Canada, and I got a phone call from Stephanie Cadieux, former Minister of Children and Families, who I knew as a person with a disability, with a spinal cord injury. Sure. We knew each other from that circle.
And she's currently actually today
the Chief Accessibility Officer for Canada.
The first
one. Yeah. And so she called me up and she said, we're looking for a speaker at this event that we're having. I'm wondering if I can give your name and number to the organizers. This guy named Mike McDonald is going to give you a call.
Fellow podcaster?
Yes. And so at the time I thought, oh, well, I had my speaking business and that's what I did. I spoke at corporate functions all the time. And I thought that was just going to be another discussion. And alas, that is not what they had in mind. And so what they were wanting me to come speak at was called Free Enterprise Friday. And it was in the fall of 2012, leading into the election in 2013. And it was the BC Liberals Convention in Whistler.
Okay.
And they were trying to revitalize the team because Christy Clark had become the leader. And it wasn't looking good for the BC Liberals to win the next election. Mm-hmm. The NDP were coming up hard.
Right. So, that was the year Adrian Dix, I think, was leader of the NDP.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. That was the weather vane, and, he could kick a dog and still win.
That was, Mike Smith famous quote, I think, right?
To defend Mike, apparently he didn't write that headline. It was someone at the newspaper who wrote that headline. He gets very defensive about it. It was his article, though.
So anyways, I went, I was convinced to go and take part in this event, and I ended up co-chairing the event with Peter Fassbender. And the beginning of the conference on Friday morning, I gave an opening welcome to the BC Liberal members in the room, tried to share a little bit about myself and what I believe and why I believe it and how I've been shaped in my life. And a lot of people in the room really liked what I had to say.
So at this point, that's great. I mean, at this point, though, how much did you actually know about the BC Liberals and what the party was about? Like, were you very interested in politics at the time?
No.
So you just went there and just were authentically yourself and...
Authentically myself. I mean, I've always voted.
Yeah.
I have never missed an election. My parents raised me to make sure that I use my voice. I think when I had my injury, it opened my eyes to a lot of obstacles and barriers, and I learned to use my voice in that way. So I definitely had leadership roles in my life, and I knew how to use my voice and speak up or speak out when I saw something that needed to change.
But you didn't have addressing a political party convention on your bucket list.
No, not at all.
Because I love politics and I want to be there at the conventions. And
at that point, even I wasn't even thinking of MLA.
Okay.
It was after that morning, by lunchtime, I had people in the room coming up to me saying, you need to be our candidate. You need to run. Have you thought about running? You need to run. And I just kept deer in the headlights saying, oh, no, thanks. I'm an athlete and I've got other things to do, because I don't like to talk about it much. But in London, I perhaps didn't succeed in the way that I wanted to. So I had unfinished business because of a silver medal that I wasn't so happy with. So, yeah.
Okay, but then you went for it and got the gold medal in the riding.
Yes.
Elected.
Yes. So I put my name on a ballot, and quite honestly, at the time when Mark, my husband, and I had the discussions of whether or not I should do it, and it took a lot of convincing. I mean, a lot of cabinet ministers were calling me. A lot of party members were talking to me and trying to encourage me to make the right decision. But at the time, because we were so far behind in the polls, Mark and I decided, well, I'll run, and it's not like I'm going to win. Right? Not like I'm going to win.
No one thought that. You never know.
Never know. So election night was a bit of a surprise for me.
Yeah, that was 2013 election. A huge come from behind victory for Christy Clark, new leader of the party. Took the BC Liberal Party to a majority government, and in an election that everyone thought the NDP was going to win. And the rest is history, because you then took on a role in that government as someone who, I guess, hadn't previously been elected. So do you want to talk a bit about what role you ended up landing in there?
Yeah. So after the election, typically there's meetings with the premier, with the individual MLAs to discuss, what they envision for you.
Is it like one-to-one meetings?
One-to-one meetings. And so I went into my one-to-one meeting with a letter of how I wanted to, learn about government and get fast-tracked to my understanding so I could be the best MLA possible, because, I'm an Olympian. I like to have plans in place and a nice, clear pathway to victory. That's not what Christy originally had in mind for me. She had actually offered me a cabinet position.
Wow.
And I said, oh, no, thank you. No, I need to learn how to be an MLA. I need to understand governance. I'm not ready for that. So I declined her offer, which apparently, being a rookie in politics, nobody ever does that.
Yeah, nobody turns down being a cabinet minister, I would think.
I didn't know. I just knew that I didn't feel I was ready and that I needed to learn, and that, and so she did fast track me. She put me on 5 committees and made me the caucus chair. Well, I mean, I was elected by the other MLAs to be the caucus chair.
Michelle, so for a lot of people out there, can you kind of describe what the role of a caucus chair is? People who don't pay a ton of attention to politics.
So caucus chair, every week there are caucus meetings, and you sit at the front of the room beside the premier and the whip, and you run those meetings.
The whip is a role. It's not an actual whip.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
Also
good to clarify.
Role. Yeah. And so you are the conduit between caucus and the premier. So sharing of information and helping support the agenda of what we discuss and the priorities that are on the agenda for those meetings. You're also, I guess, a little bit of the camp counselor, trying to keep the team together, because when you have, and for us, there were 47 of us, everybody's got competing agendas for their own communities, for their own career path, for their own vision of what they see or how they see things should be run. So it's just trying to make sure the boat's not rocking. Right.
Is this every MLA from your party in the room, or just the ministers?
All the MLAs. Yeah.
Every MLA is in the room.
And so that's the thing. You've got your cabinet ministers and your MLAs. Typically, as a caucus chair, you try and give your MLAs more time to speak, because cabinet ministers get plenty of time at the table and they're decision makers. So they need to hear from the caucus.
Right.
So it's navigating that from the front of the room and trying to
be fair.
Trying to be fair.
Yep.
Trying to acknowledge those people who just really like to hear themselves talk.
Yeah.
And how to
they need a podcast,
that.
I think, maybe.
Yeah. How to moderate that. And
And the public never gets to see these meetings. Obviously, they're behind closed doors. But it's how the party kind of manages itself. And, you're probably hearing lots of different concerns and complaints from different people, and you're managing that all as the caucus chair.
Yeah. Right.
And we're on council, so I'm curious whether this analogy holds, because as councillors, we have council meetings. There is a chair, it's the mayor, chairs the meetings. It uses Robert's rules and there's an agenda and all that. Is that the similar format, or is it more freewheeling? How does it work?
More freewheeling. We didn't really use Robert's rules in.
Do you have a gavel?
I did have a gavel.
Okay.
Gavel. So that's one thing there. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. A gavel, and I kept a speakers list, and I was the one who would acknowledge, and then I'd give the premier her opportunity to talk. So usually it would be, we let everybody in the room have their piece, and the premier would sum it up at the end, and we would have a decision, and we would walk out unified.
Okay, and where votes
Most
held?
of the
most
time.
Most of the time. There's a few
Most of
people
the
like
time.
muttering under their breath as they leave and figuring out a way to undermine what was decided. Maybe, hopefully not. What's the decision making? I'm kind of curious how the decision making process goes. Is it a vote? Is it consensus? Is it any of that? Is it just kind of the leader will? I mean, I'm sure it's different for every.
Yeah, no, it was mostly consensus, right?
Yeah.
Like listening to the room and then coming to, the premier summing it up and saying, okay, this is what I'm hearing and this is what we're going to move forward and this is why. Right?
Yeah.
So we all have a clear understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it and why it's important.
Mm-hmm. And the discussion happened.
Yep.
Obviously.
Yeah. And, it's like in politics, so I've learned, you are never going to make everybody happy.
Impossible.
It is impossible. So even in a caucus room, not everybody is 100% on board, right? You've got individuals who are independent thinkers, and that's something else, right? As an MLA, you have people coming into your office who are there for specific interest groups, and they've already made up their mind about me just because I belong to the BC Liberal Party.
Sure.
They had never met me before many times, but didn't take the time to build the relationship or get to know me and see that I was an independent thinker. And if you brought me the facts and if you could argue your case or fight for your position on something that I could be swayed.
Open mind.
I had an open mind, right? Like I strongly believe in doing what I think is in the best interest of the majority of people. And when you believe that and when you try to accomplish that, there are people along the way that get left out.
Sure.
Or they had something and now they don't have something. And that upsets them. But at the end of the day, you're doing what's in the best interest of the public purse, because that was the thing that always came back to me is it's not my money. It's all of our money. And we are all contributing to that pot. So I hate waste. I hate inefficiency. And I was always like very focused on how do we do this better? How do we make the money stretch farther?
And there's always room for improvement.
Exactly.
And there's compromise, and that's politics is I don't know, there's probably a million quotes about this, but it's like a non-violent way to resolve our differences. And you do it through compromise and convincing and building relationships.
It's a give and take, right? And it doesn't always work the way you expect it to. And sometimes you lose, even as a cabinet minister, I had to go to Treasury Board and argue my case for the money that I wanted from my ministry to make lives better for people with disabilities and for our employment programs. And sometimes I got what I asked for and sometimes I didn't. And it wasn't at the end it wasn't my decision, but I wore it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's and Treasury Board is basically made up of MLAs who are making decisions about whether to release money.
Controlling the budget.
Controlling it.
Controlling the purse, basically. Like the budget is the budget too, but then there's also, you can go to Treasury Board, as I understand it, and bring your case forward for spending the money, actually.
Well, yeah, you don't just get given the money. Like I had a budget for my ministry is $3.2 billion.
Wow.
But I had to account for where that was going and what programs it was being allocated for. And when we would create new programs, you had to figure out what that was potentially going to cost, what the cost benefits were going to be, where the savings were going to come from. So, for instance, the single parent employment initiative, something I was super proud of bringing forward to government and helping get single parents off income assistance by taking them off the hamster wheel. Typically, when you're on income assistance, if you wanted to get education, you couldn't receive funds.
You don't get the money anymore.
You don't get the money anymore, right?
Basically disincentivized.
We created this program where we would pay for their training, for their transportation, for their education, for in-demand jobs.
And I think daycare as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And for these in-demand jobs so that, they were getting the training and there would actually be a job for them at the end of the line. And we were hopefully getting them off income assistance. And when we started, I thought, okay, like maybe 50 people are going to take part in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to have people who want to make the change.
They're determined, yeah.
Yeah, we had thousands of people, like 3,400 people, like in the first year.
Wow.
Right?
Successful.
Huge success.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to argue that and I had to prove it and I had to go and explain it to my other MLAs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other thing about government. Government's big.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's huge. And there are so many competing priorities and there's so many programs. And as an MLA, to have knowledge of every single one of those is next to impossible.
Yeah. So maybe a good way to parlay the discussion into how to get things done, kind of working with the local governments. From our perspective, being on local government, we hear a lot of things from the community around different challenges or things they want to see happen. Most of those things are actually not really our jurisdiction. We don't really have any ability to do much about them at all. Sure, if it's potholes, yeah, like let's talk. But if it's something to do with healthcare, maybe mental health challenges, these sorts of things that are really challenging and we see on the ground a lot, but we don't really have the ability to do much about it. But we can through working with our MLA and the provincial government. Do you have any thoughts on your time as an MLA and working with local government and maybe some ways that you were able to work together with local government? Any thoughts on that general topic? I know that we had we got in our community, you helped get the water treatment plant funded.
Yeah.
So
I think number one, when I first was elected, one of the priorities I made was to meet with my local governments on the regular. So when I set up my office, I made sure I had a boardroom big enough that I could host a city council around my table and have those meetings and have those conversations on the regular.
Love that.
Yeah, because you need to be able to come to me as a city council and explain to me what your priorities are. Like, otherwise I'm just learning it from the newspaper.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
or podcast.
Yeah. Being an MLA, being a city councilor, it's so much about relationship building.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think the average person also doesn't understand how much time that takes. It's not, 9 to 5 job. It's, I'm driving home from Victoria for 2 hours and I am on calls one after the other to connect with various counselors or special interest groups or people within my party so that I understand from the ground what's happening in their community and how it's impacting people so that it helps me make better judgments and decisions.
It feels like a lot of the job is actually kind of being a broker or a connector of people. I definitely see that with what we do. And for sure at the MLA level, if you know the different groups in the community, the people that are making things happen, it's also about how do you connect them and make sure that they're able to collaborate and everyone's on the same page to get the things done. You can't, in terms of priorities, and if everyone's kind of working towards the same priorities, it's a lot easier to get things done. I assume as well at the provincial level, if the whole community is saying, we want this thing, it makes your job easier then as well, instead of having a million different ideas that are floating around.
Yep. And I still had to make choices too. If there was 5 groups in the community all looking for $100,000, I didn't have $100,000 to give all of them. Right. So you have to decide how you make that happen.
Now that you've moved on, do you have any kind of reflections on public office, what you maybe miss or don't miss about it?
Oh gosh.
And how you carry that forward maybe into what you're doing now?
I think learned a ton from the fire hose for the first few years. And even now, if I could go back now, understanding how governance works and how the system works, I would be a better MLA, right? Because it took me a couple years to get that grasp and that understanding. Same thing, right? Like for city councilors, you run the second time because you've just figured out how to make you know what your priority is, but now you know how to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. You learn the sport first, and then you're going to get better and better at it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It was the training ground, right?
Yep.
And so that I always feel bad for MLAs, city councillors, MPs who only get one term
Mm-hmm.
because it's like they were just getting their feet wet.
Yep.
And they were just figuring it out. And
I feel like a lot of the early part of my role on council, I'm still getting my feet wet, but a lot of it felt like I was playing detective and just trying to investigate and figure out, okay, why is it the way it is now? And maybe there's a reason for the way things are done the way they are.
it's also same thing. Like you're getting your information from staff. Do you trust the staff? Are the staff giving you the right details, or do they have their own agendas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got their own
Right?
interests. They've got their
And
own
so
priorities.
you have to be able to take the information that they're providing you, but also do your own research and your own homework. And like, it's a lot.
Yeah, and that's where the detective thing, I feel, especially on some key issues in our community, it's like, okay, I've got these people saying this thing, the other people saying some other thing, and they can't both be right. I have to figure out, okay, why is the situation the way it is? And so it's like wearing my Hardy Boys novel. Well, I don't know. Do they wear something? I guess they don't wear anything. What do Hardy Boys wear?
I'm not sure what our demographic is or our podcast, but we might have to explain what Hardy Boys is there. I don't know.
You know what Hardy Boys is, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do. They're blue hardcover books. I had them, but
Nancy Drew.
There's people out there who may
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. That I mean, any other thoughts you want to go before we're going to pivot to our quote take segment, which we're also inviting Michelle to participate in? Any sort of parting thoughts for people on good governance and how to kind of go beyond the partisanship that we see in politics?
Yeah, I think, in society, we have gotten so cynical, and politics, I used to imagine what would it have been like if I was an MLA 50 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
where if somebody wanted to ask me a question, they would have to come down to my office,
Yes.
make an appointment
Yes.
to meet with me, or they would send me a letter handwritten in the mail. I would get it in 2 weeks, and then I would, return the response. And they would maybe have an answer 3 weeks, 4 weeks from that time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now you get an email. If somebody sends you an email, they expect a response by the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of emails, right?
And the amount of thought that went into that email, like compared to writing a letter, you have to kind of think about it and you write it down. And
Mhm.
whereas email, you can just go like, and send it off.
Yeah.
And social media is even worse. On
It is,
on the
right?
speed
And I
side.
just think there's so much hate and vitriol. And, I strongly believe that people who run for office are actually trying to make the world a better place,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So why do we have so much hate on for them, right? Just give them some space, understand that they're humans and that they're trying their best based on the information they've been provided, that make good decisions.
And
Well,
also,
yeah.
we're privy to information that isn't always public as well, and we can't make it public.
Yes.
So there has to be some trust in the people who ran and that they're trying to do the
Yeah.
right thing.
When you checked a box beside my name,
Mhm.
you were saying, I trust that you will do your best in
Mhm.
your best interest. Because again, you're right. Not everything is public,
No.
nor should it be
No,
public.
can't be.
And even if it is, there's so much information. That's the whole reason that you elect someone whose
Yes.
job it is to obsess over these things
Yeah.
and read all the materials and understand and attend all the meetings and meet with all the different groups.
You have chosen that person to do the work. So let them go do the work.
Yeah. No, trust. Trust
Yep.
is key.
Part of the being a public official, it feels like you're the complaints department, kind of like the camp counselor sort of thing. And if people have things going on in their own lives, if they have those issues or problems, that can spill over to their publicly elected official, because it kind of feels like you can vent to us in any way you want, disrespectful, etc. Which it doesn't really gain you the ground on an issue that you think it might. So try to keep things as respectful as possible, and you'll probably get a little bit more attention on the issue that you care about.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. We're going to shift over to our one segment that we have called Quote Take.
And I quote, Quote take.
All right, Sean, what do we have teed up here for our quote take today?
Well, yesterday, Premier Eby made a press availability. And with all of the chit chat about BC Ferries going to China for a big BC Ferries contract, that's kind of what the press gallery was expecting to hear. But instead, shall I just play it? And we'll...
On the second issue, serious allegations have been brought to my attention made by the leader of the opposition, John Rustad, about the alleged conduct of some MLAs in the Legislative Assembly. The leader of the Conservatives alleges that MLAs are involved in criminal activity. It is a profound and serious allegation that it also strikes at the core of this place behind me and the public's confidence in the fact that legislators and staff members need to be able to do their work for the people without interference. The only reason we know about this is because a letter from Mr. Rustad to his colleagues was leaked to the media. Mr. Rustad needs to explain to the public what's happening. He needs to bring the information that he has to the police. These are very serious allegations. And if he fails to bring them to the police for whatever reason, then we will bring them to the police to make sure that this is properly and thoroughly investigated. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, well, there you go. So what's going on here?
Kind of two things. One, he could be kind of using that as a deflection from the BC Ferries issue. That's a very hot topic, even in the House of Commons in Ottawa. And then the other is that obviously blackmail, especially including staff, is a significant accusation. And so there is definitely some meat to this.
Well, and the meat is, so just by way of background, this letter that's being referenced in the clip is a letter that the leader of the Conservative Party of BC, it was leaked. It was a letter he sent to his caucus alleging that the 3 break-off MLAs that left the Conservative Party or were pushed out at whatever happened there, were allegedly blackmailing staffers of the BC Conservative Party's caucus with text message screenshots and that sort of thing to try to get them to come over to their new party called One BC. So there's yet again, there's splintering happening among political parties leading up to the election. We had the NDP trying to fan the flames, and I don't know how much fanning was required, I guess, of the all the defections happening from BC United over to the BC Conservatives. And now we have the BC Conservative Party in the legislature who's lost 3 MLAs to a new party called One BC. 2 of them are in that, and I guess the third one not to be determined what he'll be doing.
Long and the short of it is, hey, we have screenshots when we were all in the same party, and we're going to release these unless you guys come and join us. And so David Eby, the premier, gets to kind of let those 2 parties have it out, maybe in court, and make everyone kind of look bad. So it works out great for him. It's much easier to talk about that than it is BC Ferries.
Well, how does a caucus chair handle that situation when you've got allegations of blackmail and a party that's not really holding together very well? You've had 3 people leave, and now 2 of them have formed their own party. How do you tackle that? Like, what do you do as a caucus chair? You got any tips? You didn't deal with that, did you?
No.
No.
I'm pretty thankful that I didn't. I think for me, what sticks out for me is just the staff that are, if this is true, and
allegation. Yeah.
If those allegations are true, these staffers are often quite young.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to impact their futures, their careers. And I just feel it's so wrong.
Well, you've got basically, so staffers that many of them would have helped out for the election, got involved in the Conservative Party of BC, wanted to see that party get elected. And many of them, so after the election, some of them get hired on to work as staffers in the legislature. And so they take on roles like assisting MLAs, either as constituency assistants, maybe in the riding, or as assistants in the legislature. LAs, I think, legislative assistants.
Legislative assistants.
And so they're providing briefing notes and maybe helping record.
Maybe they're in comms.
Yeah, maybe recording videos of MLAs and helping script those. And these often are recent graduates of maybe political science, university or something. They're generally pretty young. And it's not very, to your point, not great to see if there's allegations around blackmail of those individuals whose maybe private lives shouldn't become part of the political conversation.
And I think the three of us probably keep things very respectful, and I'm sure you did as well, Michelle, when you were in office. And I think that's a bit of a firewall against this sort of thing. Like if you're always respectful, even in texts, even in, private conversations, try to keep it positive, try to keep it respectful. And you're not giving any ammunition to anyone ever, pretend that almost every conversation is being recorded because it might be. And I'm not saying that, there's any legitimacy to this because we still have yet to find out. But, I really don't like getting into the dirt and slinging mud because, number one, it doesn't get anyone anywhere and it might come back to bite you later on. And so keeping things positive and trying to just move issues forward for a good outcome usually is the best way.
Well, and that is one of the big challenges, I think, in our moment culturally is that personal integrity is not held up as a value as much as it used to be. You can regulate all you want. You can create all kinds of rules and have the watchdogs watching over all the time to make sure people behave. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for how you behave yourself. And we're a long way from people, defending their integrity with a duel or whatever. But they're my honor.
I would also say though, sad state of affairs if it's true that this new party is not attracting individuals to come work for them because of their policy ideas or because of their belief systems, that's the way they're going to entice people to come be with them.
Right. Yeah.
Get out there and do the groundwork and talk to people on the ground and get them excited about what you're trying to accomplish for British Columbia.
Yeah. Give them a reason to run for you. Give them a reason to go across the aisle.
Well, presumably,
don't force them to do it.
Yeah, I mean, presumably you're in government now. You're elected to help move the province forward and do good things in the province. This definitely doesn't speak to that being the thing. It's now just starting to look more like, people arguing amongst themselves. And how does that help any of us? You've got a job to do there. Please do it for us.
So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of plays out. We don't have to talk about the deflection too much because the BC Ferries contract is in the news a lot. Anyways, there were no Canadian shipbuilders that put in a bid. It was a 5-year procurement process for the BC Ferries Board just to choose where the contract goes, which seems like a long time to me. It seems like it might have been good for the government to step in as the sole shareholder in BC Ferries early on in the procurement process to maybe make sure that China wasn't an option in that procurement process, and then they don't have to deal with the fallout that they're dealing with right now. And there were still been other countries that they could have probably procured maybe at a little bit of a higher cost, but at a lesser political cost, possibly.
Oh,
so,
like we did there.
Yeah.
The question is, what is that cost though? And how much are people willing to pay extra for their beliefs on that?
Yeah. A lot of the conversation also revolves around how much control the government has over this kind of crown corporation that they're supposed to be arm's length and they're the sole shareholder. The public can't get into the weeds on that. The public knows that it's public money that goes to BC Ferries and it's public money that goes to the government. So, hey, what's the control methods here? And can we do a better job next time?
There's a lot more to say on that in the future, I'm sure, both on the ferries and on the splintering political parties. But hey, Michelle, really, really grateful that you came on.
I'm just so excited for some bread.
Yeah, let's break out the bread.
For the record, she could have had some before. We're not like holding her hostage until we're done. Michelle, thank you so much for making time for our little podcast here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and really appreciate the work you did in our community. And we're excited to be able to kind of continue, hopefully, the work that you did and the approach that you took in our little roles here. And thanks again.
Well, thanks for what you guys do every day for the city of Parksville.
Awesome. Thank you.
With that, we'll call it a wrap on episode 3 of Non-Partisan Hacks. We'd love to hear what you think. If you've got a guest suggestion, a good government story, or topic ideas, or if you want to be on the show, drop us a line. Just stop at our website, which is found at nonpartisanhacks.com. Until next time, take care of yourself and your community.